This is Daily Armenia, CivilNet's daily news digest. Here's what you need to know today. Armenia has reported 2 fresh ceasefire violations as tensions with Azerbaijan continue to spiral to levels not seen in months. In a statement today, Armenia's defense ministry said Azerbaijani units opened fire at Armenian positions in the border villages of Kut in Armenia's eastern Gagarkunik region and Tegh in the country's southern Syunik region. There were no casualties reported. Continuing, the press release dismissed claims by Azerbaijan's defense ministry earlier today that Armenian units opened fire at Azerbaijani positions in the border villages of Haydarabad and Bichanak in the country's Nakhichevan exclave. Again, there were no casualties reported. This comes after Azerbaijan falsely claimed for 2 days straight that Armenia was building up troops along its side of the border. Both Armenia and the European Union have rejected those allegations. EU observers again patrolled on the Armenian side of the Armenia-Azerbaijan border today, and our monitors didn't observe any unusual military movements, the mission said in a post on X yesterday evening. The EU special representative to the region, Toivo Klar, again quickly applauded the clarification, writing in a separate post on X yesterday evening, "The mission is performing an essential function to ensure transparency. It is open to engagement with Azerbaijan as well." Early last year, the EU deployed dozens of unarmed monitors to the Armenian side of the border for daily patrols. Azerbaijan does not grant the observers access to its side of the border and has repeatedly slammed the mission as biased and destabilizing. Over the weekend, Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan again accused Azerbaijan of seeking excuses to start a new large-scale war in the region. Pashinyan is set to meet later this week with the head of the European Union and the United States top diplomat for unprecedented three-way talks that are expected to center on further economic and humanitarian assistance. The peace process is not the focus of this meeting, State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller reiterated at his daily press briefing yesterday. Nonetheless, Baku has described the talks as escalatory and warned Washington and Brussels will share responsibility with Yerevan for any further outbreaks of violence in the region. In other military news, Armenia's Prosecutor General's office today released the country's army casualty figures for last year. Once again, the majority of Armenia's army deaths did not occur in combat. 19 soldiers were killed in action, 21 died in accidents, including accidents related to mishandling weapons, 7 died by suicide, 3 were murdered, and 4 died after falling ill. That takes the total number of soldiers lost last year to 54, a year-on-year increase of nearly 70%. A Russian-led military alliance has indicated it considers its area of responsibility to include all territories within Armenia's established state borders, while failing to note that large sections of Armenia's borders remain undelimited, meaning legally undefined. The Collective Security Treaty Organization considers its area of responsibility in Armenia to be the country's sovereign territory within its established state borders. The CSTO's area of responsibility ends where the state border passes, which is decided on a bilateral basis between Armenia and its neighbors, the bloc said in a statement to Russia's RBC newspaper yesterday. Pointedly, the alliance failed to mention that Armenia's borders with Azerbaijan and Georgia, which were previously Soviet-era administrative boundaries, remain undelimited or, in the bloc's own words, not established. The statement comes several weeks after Pashinyan called on the alliance to clarify how it sees its area of responsibility in Armenia and threatened to pull his country out of the bloc if his concerns are not addressed. "We have raised the question of the CSTO's area of responsibility in Armenia, and we have not yet received an answer to that question," Pashinyan told reporters last month at a rare press conference. He continued, "If the CSTO answers that question and that answer matches Armenia's position, it will mean the issues between Armenia and the CSTO have been addressed and resolved. If not, Armenia will leave the CSTO." There was no immediate response to the bloc statement yesterday from Pashinyan, who has already indicated he has frozen Armenia's membership in the alliance and instructed his country not to participate in negotiations with the bloc. For its part, the CSTO has confirmed Armenia's non-participation while insisting there is no legal mechanism by which Armenia can temporarily suspend or freeze its membership. Armenia's relations with the CSTO worsened sharply in September 2022 when, despite mutual defense obligations, the bloc failed to respond to a massive attack by Azerbaijan on dozens of municipalities across eastern and southern Armenia. And finally, the CivilNet number of the day is 6774. That's the current year according to the Assyrian calendar as of yesterday, Assyrian New Year. To mark the occasion, Armenia's human rights ombudsperson visited the village of Verin Devin, home to the country's largest Assyrian community. Assyrians are a recognized ethnic minority group in Armenia and have a seat set aside for them in the country's parliament. And as always, please follow CivilNet for the latest news and independent reporting from our contributors on the ground here in Armenia.